Kayfabe was a way to show respect to the audience and respect your own business. It was a way to protect it.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man. And I'm saying, we are the generation. You make your rules, and we will.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, all you casual wrestling fans, and all you smart marks, this is the Kayfabe Livecast, and I'm your host, Kayfabe AJ. Today's topic is based on none other than Joni Marie Laura. To you fans out there, she's known as the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna. Now, Chyna was born December 27, 1969, and unfortunately passed away April 20th, 2016. She's called the ninth wonder of the world for various reasons, but the biggest reason being she has the largest impact of any woman in the history of professional wrestling, and this is not an opinion, this is a fact. Chyna was breaking barriers that women could only claw at. She was doing first evers that women couldn't even dream of, didn't even think possible. While other women were doing bra and panty matches and bikini contests, Chyna was breaking barriers and breaking jaws and clotheslining the men and getting wins and racking up wins all on her own. Chyna lived an adventurous life, full of highs and unfortunately full of a lot of lows. Now, Chyna suffered from a lot of drug abuse issues and a lot of personal demons. We won't focus too much on her personal life. We want to highlight what made her such a standout. What made her this icon that in 2019, Chyna is still spoken of. Chyna is still thought of when you think about women in wrestling. Women who innovated and changed the industry for the better. Before there was a women's revolution with a hashtag attached, we had the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna. Chyna is hands down the most dominant female in professional wrestling history. And these are the 9 reasons why Chyna, Joni Laura, is the ninth wonder of the world. Coming in at number 1, we have the first ever woman enforcer. Now, we're talking about a day and age where the women were just valets. They were just managers to the wrestling stars. For the first time ever, we have this huge, imposing woman dominating the men and imposing her will upon them. Chyna had this dominating and intimidating presence to her. She didn't speak much in the beginning, but just with the look in her eyes, you can tell this was not someone you want to mess with. Now, she came in under Triple H, being his enforcer. This was the first ever time a woman stepped in the role that a man usually fits, where they protect the wrestler who's in the main event or getting geared towards the main event or getting book strong. Now, Triple H was someone who had all the essentials to make a great star. He had the look, he could talk on the mic, he had the in-ring wrestling talent, but he wasn't getting over with the crowd. Once Chyna stepped foot in that ring and she was coming down alongside Triple H and pretty much guarding him from his enemies and helping him win his matches, that's when the crowd took notice of Triple H. So we can attribute his success largely to Chyna being the first ever woman enforcer. Coming in at number 2, Chyna was one of the founding members of the Generation X. Alongside her was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Rick Rude. Chyna lasted well through the first iteration and the second iteration alongside the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. A lot of the success of the Generation X had to do with Chyna being involved in the storylines, and this was again unheard of at this time. A woman being in a man's stable and getting just as much shine and recognition as the other members of the group. This was big things, made major waves, and DX is still a stable that's talked about. But when people think about DX in their prime, they think about a time where Chyna was heavily involved in the group. Coming in at number 3, Most people don't even know this about Chyna, but when she left WWF in 2001, stemming off of the controversy with Triple H and Stephanie becoming a couple during the same time Chyna and Triple H in real life were engaged to be married, she had a falling out with WWF, and she ended up leaving the company and joining none other than New Japan Pro Wrestling. And over there in New Japan, she was wrestling the men. Now, New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time, and even now in this day, women are not really heavily featured on the show. They have their own wrestling promotion for women out there at the time called Shimmer. But Chyna, again, was standing in the same ground, in the same playing field as the men, and she went and fought in matches against men in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Just another reason why she is an icon. Coming in at number 4, we have the 1999 King of the Ring. And Chyna was a part of it. The first and only woman to this day to enter into the King of the Ring. Not only did she enter, but she beat Val Venus in the first round in 2 minutes and about 50 seconds. She also went on to the second round to face the Road Dogg, where she lost after a 13-minute plus match. Now, again, this has never been replicated again in history. Now, the King of the Ring tournament is something that at this point is rare. Even the men don't compete in the tournament as usually as they did back then. But when Chyna was doing it, the King of the Ring was an annual event, almost up there with the Big Four pay-per-views. For her to go into this event and not only be the first woman to do it, but actually beat the men and excel to the next round was something huge. It was just another notch on the legacy of Chyna, and a well-deserved legacy at that. Coming in at number 5, the same exact year as the King of the Ring, we have the Royal Rumble. Once again, Chyna is involved in the Royal Rumble, the first ever woman to do it. Now, this has been replicated on 2 occasions. One with Beth Phoenix entering the Royal Rumble, and the second time they replicated it was this year's Royal Rumble with Nia Jax entering herself into the Men's Royal Rumble. Now, in 2019, the Royal Rumble changed its format to include the women, and now they have their own Women's Royal Rumble as well as a Men's Royal Rumble. But back then, that was completely unheard of for a woman to enter that match. That match meant the winner goes on to face the WWF or WWE champion and face them at WrestleMania. So the implications of Chyna even entering that match was huge and groundbreaking in itself. The fact that we even thought Chyna could have a chance at the WWF title, and let alone at WrestleMania, it was huge, and it got a big pop. And honestly, as much as they try to replicate it in this day and age, we always gonna remember that's the Chyna spot. The first woman to ever do it, Royal Rumble match. Coming in at number 6, Chyna was a former women's champion. Now, she's only held that title one time, but at that time, she was dominant. There was no competition in that roster for her. Now, she did big up Lita and try to give some shine to others and try to give as much as a good match. But when you go 4 or 5 plus years standing toe to toe with some of the biggest names in wrestling against the men, there's not much expectancy as a women's champion. And you know, it led into the situation with her, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon, the triangle that led to the WWE giving Chyna her release. And unfortunately, you know, we wouldn't see her actually drop the title. We wouldn't see her actually, defend that title. To me, she is still the WWF Women's Champion. Chyna never lost that title, and they took it away from her and dropped her career due to scandal. Now, that legacy can never be tarnished as much as they tried. And we don't forget that she was the Women's Champion. Coming in at number 7, stemming off of her first appearance in the Royal Rumble, first woman appearance in the Rumble, and the implications that could have had, we have Chyna being the first woman and only woman to be the #1 contender to the WWF title. That's right, the title held by all the boys, the title that is the pinnacle of WWF, WWE. She was once the #1 contender to. Now, we will probably never see another woman raise to the heights of even getting a shot at that title or even being recognized as a contender for it. The women in 2019, the revolution that has come upon WWE, women are in a great place. They actually do a lot better than most of the men, and the women's storylines and the women's matches have been the highlight of 2018 and the most of 2019 so far. And women are in a great space. They have their own things. They have their own titles. They have their new tag team titles about to debut. They have their own women's versions of the men's matches, which are not given or taken away anything. They're equal to the men. So they're in a great position. But Chyna actually had an opportunity to become the WWF champion. And this just solidifies another reason why she's the 9th wonder of the world. Let's continue this list. Coming in at number 8. Now, in order to even get these opportunities and in order to even be a contender, she has to beat people, right? And Chyna is among the few people to have a list that includes Kurt Angle, that includes Triple H, Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett, among others. She has former world champions. The amount of reigns in the people that she's defeated, you can't even count on both hands and feet. Chyna is one of a kind. She was one of a kind. And this is the 8th reason why she's the 9th wonder of the world. Coming in at number 9, the first and only woman to not only do it once, but to do it twice. She was the first and only woman to become the Intercontinental Champion. Now that belt is known to wrestlers in the back as the workhorse belt, meaning that person who owns the IC title, he's next up. He's going to be the main event in the future. He's the next person in line for WWF or WWE title contention. For her to have that belt twice just cemented every reason why she's the 9th wonder of the world, and comes after none other than Andre the Giant being the 8th wonder of the world. She deserves something of that status because at this point in time, WWE has yet to recognize her in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, with scandals aside, whatever happened between them and her release, don't do it because you guys feel any type of way, and don't leave her out because you guys feel some type of way. The fans love Chyna. The fans want to see it. Do it for the fans, because the fans are going to acknowledge the fact that she's the most dominant force in wrestling entertainment. She's the most dominant woman in wrestling history, period. These were the 9 reasons why she's the 9th wonder of the world. Rest in peace, Joanie Laurer. Rest in peace, Chyna. One of the best women to ever do it. Let's hope that she gets into this 2019 Hall of Fame or sometime in the future. Hopefully the egos can get put to the side and we can recognize the icon as she was in her greatest moments. Not in her bad moments, not in her lows. When I remember Chyna, I remember her at WrestleMania 17 standing strong with that women's title that she never lost. Rest in peace, Chyna, and you forever will be the 9th wonder of the world.